So hello and welcome to episode 19 now of 20 Minute Marketing. It's been a couple of weeks since our last episode, so I'm excited to pick things up and get started and share some new content with you all. So without giving too much away, the episode is going to be focusing on branding and how businesses, particularly those in tech, can connect better with their audience. So let's get right into it. So today's guest is Alara Vural. So hi Alara, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing really well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm excited to get started and learn something from you today. So could you spend a minute or so introducing yourself and your work for us, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of tech-based business owners have something amazing to offer, and a lot of the time they've already developed a product that has a potential to really have a positive impact on the world. But the problem is because they've been so close with their product, when they communicate their product, they get lost in this techie language, and what that does is it confuses their audience. A lot of the time it bores them and pushes them away. So what I help them do is create an emotional connection with their audience so that their audience is inspired to actually take action, whatever that action might be, if that's signing up for their email list, if that's actually buying their thing, if that's investing in them. So really, that's kind of the essence of what I do, and it comes from my background I actually used to be a life coach, so my background in creating human-to-human connections and really articulating that passion so that other people, especially your audience, can grasp it as well, and therefore are inspired to take action.
Yeah, and I'm really interested in this topic because as we're an SMS provider, we often use words to describe our services. We might be using like SMS API or talking about A2P or P2P, or maybe our Zapier integration. And for some people, those words mean absolutely nothing. In other circumstances, it can be hard to sort of make those topics interesting or connect with our audience and say why those things are important. So I'm also really interested to see how this can sort of change how we connect emotionally with our audience when I sort of talk about those things. So if everyone stays with us, in a few seconds, we'll be diving right into that chat. So stay tuned. So let's get started. So as we've discussed already, you help tech businesses create an emotional connection by using language that doesn't cause confusion or boredom. And as a result, this can help brands build a loyal customer base, which is everyone's ultimate goal, essentially. So why is it important to build that emotional connection?
I think it's important to remember that no matter who we're talking to, whether it's in business, whether it's an investor, whether it's this fact, even though it's really simple, it's really easily forgotten in the business world. And the main thing about being human is that the thing that drives our decisions is how we feel about things, is our emotions. We later back it up with logic. We make decisions based upon how we feel and then later back it up with logic. And that's the thing that we often forget, especially in the business world. Like this is something that is a reality from when we were making our first friends in kindergarten, from when we were deciding what high school to go to, from when we were deciding what job to take. Yeah, like there's logical aspects to it, and it's important to list those logical aspects to kind of like make sure that you are making the right decision. But it always starts off with first how you feel about something, the decision, right? So let me give you an example. So I used to, I have this really vivid memory of when I used to go shoe shopping with my mum when I was a kid. And within the first 30 seconds of walking into the shop, I would have had a look around and I would have decided, maybe narrowed it down to 2 shoes, which I like the style of and I like the color of. I just like the shoes. So from that point onwards, everything I did was about looking at the logical reasons why it would be a good buy. So I would look at, well, this is a lightweight material. It's got a discount and it's breathable material. So my mum feels like, yeah, well, perfect. It sounds like a good shoe, and it is a good shoe. But the decision was made within the first 30 seconds when I decided that I liked that shoe, and I'm sure you can relate to this. The audience can relate to this in one way, shape, or form, if you have kids or from your childhood as well. But for some reason, we forget this when it comes into business, and we just start talking about the logical aspects of it. And if you just walked into a shoe shop and they gave you a list of all the properties of the shoes and which one's lightweight, which one's on discount, how inspired would you feel to buy that shoe? You'd probably just get bored and have a bit of an information overload and walk out the shoe shop, right? So the reason why it's important to build an emotional connection is because we're all human, and humans make decisions based upon how they feel about something and then back it up with logic. So the idea is you create a good feeling with them and then later back it up with the logical aspects of why your product is the best thing in the world.
And then sort of that comes, we'll come back to the next step of that is that, okay, so someone has a good feeling, how can tech or other businesses then approach the language or improve their relationship with their customers to get that connection?
Yeah, okay, so the how, right? So how do we actually do that? There's 3 reasons why you might be pushing away your audience. So the first reason is that you haven't got that sense of trust, right? They just don't trust you. Second reason is that they're confused, and third reason is they don't feel like what you have is relevant to them. They can see it, but they just don't see why it's relevant to them. Okay, so you're either they either don't trust you, they're confused, or they just don't feel like what you have is relevant to them. And with your communication in them, you need to have these 3 things. If you have these 3 things, you will have created an emotional connection with them. The first thing is about creating belief, creating a sense of belonging with what you do. So what I mean by this is my product is going to help make the world a better place in XYZ reason. This is the world that I believe in. So everything we do is based around, I'm just making it up, efficiency. This is the world that I believe in, so everything we do is based around sustainability, safety, whatever it is that you believe in. But this first part about creating belief is where you share your core values, the foundations on which this business is built upon, and showing that your business is deeper than skin level, that there's more to it than just a product that you want them to buy. There is actually a soul to this company. So I'll go into a few more examples in a minute, but Apple is a really good example of this. So Apple has done one of the best examples out there of a company that can show their soul. Yeah, they're a computer company. Yeah, they sell kind of iPods or phones or whatever else they sell, but they have they show that they're deeper than skin level, and you can see this in all of their advertisement, that everything they do is around creating questioning the status quo, challenging the status quo, and supporting people who think differently to push the human race forward, right? So the first element is creating belief by sharing the soul of your company, your why and your vision. The second element is around creating clarity around what you do. There is a difference between something being easy to understand and impossible to misunderstand. So you're trying to make it so that when you talk about what you do, especially kind of in an elevator pitch or in a title, that what you do is super clear. And there's a really simple formula to do this, and this is something that Donald Miller, founder of StoryBrand, is kind of a really high advocate of. So when
it's a great book, by the way, just to interrupt.
Yeah, I've just finished reading it. And
I would recommend that to anyone.
Absolutely. And one of the ways he teaches you to kind of create an elevator pitch is you first of all start off with what the problem is, right? So you're telling a story. You're giving a problem, you're giving a solution, and then you're giving a result to the solution. So, for example, let me give you the example of mine. So the problem: most tech-based business owners have something amazing to offer, but can't get their audience to act when it comes to buying, for example. Okay, so most XYZ people have this problem, experience this problem, which leads to this situation. Okay, so second part is, so we do XYZ. This is a solution that you have. So for me, it's, so I help them create an emotional connection with their audience. Okay, so I can, depending on what context I'm talking about, I can give more detail or less detail, but what really the solution that I'm giving is creating an emotional connection with their audience. Okay, so the second part is the solution that you have. The third part is the result of that solution, so that they can inspire their audience to take action, to act, so that they can inspire their audience to come on board with their vision, to come on board with their cause, whatever it is. So that result, what does that solution lead to? What result does it lead to? Okay, so if you can create an elevator pitch that brings clarity, perfect. That's the second element of creating emotional connection. So you've created belief by sharing your vision. You've created clarity by having a bomb-proof elevator pitch. And the third element is using your story, using your founding story. And this is about your story. Your founding story is actually your superpower, because you have got the reason why you got to the point that you're at now, where you're passionate about what you do, where you think your product really is going to solve a big problem in the world, and you think that you're like what you have is the best. The reason you've got to the point you have now is because you've been through a series of realizations throughout your life that has led you to that point. You've gone through some experiences that have led you to have some realizations that have led you to believe that this is a big problem that needs to be solved in the way that I'm solving it. That is your story. That is your founding story. But when we tell people about our product, we're just saying, there is a problem. This is the solution. You should buy it. People haven't gone through the same emotional and psychological journey that you've gone through to realize it's important. So the magic that comes out of sharing your founding story in the right way is that people don't only understand what you do, but they understand the importance of it and the relevance of it to them. So when you're sharing your founding story, a lot of people can kind of go off tangent, because there's a lot of elements to your founding story that you could share, right? So I want you to remember, if you are sharing your founding story at any point, the key kind of aim that you're getting at with your story is this statement, right? So if I can make people believe that the technology that I'm utilizing, this is specifically for tech businesses, but if I can make people believe that the technology that I'm utilizing, whatever that is, blockchain, AI, whatever it is the key to the thing that they desire the most, becoming an industry leader, becoming having a world where people have access to healthcare anywhere on demand, whatever it is, right? So the thing that they desire the most, and is only attainable by the specific way that I utilize this technology. So this is your specific product, the thing that makes your product different. Then all of their objections will go away and they have to give me money. So if you can get people to believe that the technology that they're utilizing is the key to getting the thing that they want the most, and is only attainable through the specific way that you use that technology, then all of the objections go away and they have to give you money.
And then we're just going to ask some practical questions. So besides Apple, do you have any other examples of maybe any brands that have done this really well?
Yeah, so like I was saying, Apple is a big one. Nike is also a really good brand that has managed to add some depth to what they do and actually communicate the soul of their company. They have a video called Dream Crazy, and it's all about this. It's showing moments, moments in sport where it was really crazy for them to do whatever they did, right? And the message in the video is, it's only crazy until you can do it. Show them what crazy can do. And their kind of logo is, not logo, tagline is just do it. So Nike has a really good way of creating that emotion. If you watch that emotion and don't get teary-eyed, I'd be worried. Elon Musk also has another really good example for this, because he has a lot of great products, but whenever you hear him speak, he will always speak about why he does it, the vision that he has. He's a really good visionary. And if you actually listen to his interviews, it all boils down to the fact that he wants the future for the human race to be inspiring rather than depressing. So, and the best way that he can see that happening is by becoming an interplanetary species. So we're not just all going to burn and die on this planet, and also creating sustainable life on this planet as well. So Tesla and SpaceX, both of them fit really well into that vision that he has of creating an inspiring and kind of future to look forward to and get excited about, rather than kind of wait for our death, which is really entertaining to
I'm just going to ask one final question on this sort of topic of emotion and connection. just sort of like an example of ourselves, I'm interested to sort of hear what your thoughts are about it. So when we run our like paid ads, or whether that's on Google or other channels, we focus on price, and we've often tried to sell the emotional connection of us maybe helping people out using a software that they've never used before, or on that side of things, and they haven't worked as well. So how does sort of like paid ads and ad copy fall under this sort of arch?
Yeah. So look, there's a few questions that people need to answer in their heads before they buy something, right? Let me just give you those 5 questions. They need to be answered in this order. Some products just speak for themselves, and some products that are a little bit more confusing need it to be spelled out. So the questions are, this is what I believe in, this is the world that I believe in, this is the world that we want to create, right? Second is, this is what I do, this is what I have. Third is, here's how it will benefit you. Fourth, here's how it works. And fifth, here's why we're different. All of these questions need to be answered in someone's head before they make a decision that, yeah, okay, I want to go with you. So the thing about paid ads is it's something that is so common, and for a lot of the time, the first 3 questions, here's what I believe in, here's what I do, here's how it will benefit you, are already, it's answered within itself already, right? So what do I believe in, growing my business, or whatever it is that you're trying to do with the paid ads, people have already answered that question in their heads. Here's what I do. We got paid ads. It's simple, right? So here's how it will benefit you. People are clear on the benefits for them. It's not, those 3 questions are usually kind of answered in their heads. All they want to know is how it works and why are you different.
So yeah, let's now move on to a different angle in regards to connections between brands and their customers. I've seen a few of your videos and quite intrigued by what you talk about on them. So you talk on LinkedIn about target markets and how companies shouldn't take sort of a stereotypical approach of just listing customer demographics, whether that's their age or sex or location, or maybe their job type. So could you spend a little bit of time telling us why we shouldn't be doing that?
Yeah, so I think the video that you're referring to is Your Target Market Aren't Your People. There was a video called that.
That was the one, yeah.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily that you shouldn't know your customer demographic. But in order to create an emotional connection with them, like you can absolutely make money by just knowing your customer demographic, creating something for that demographic. But if you want to create a deeper connection with your audience, and the idea with creating a deeper connection with your audience is that they feel loyal to you and they're willing to pay a higher price. They're willing to go with, Apple charges way more than any other computer company. And why is that? Because people feel loyal to them. So it's not that you shouldn't know the demographic, but it's if you want to create that deeper connection where you want the loyalty and you want people to come on board with your cause, then you're going to need to know your tribe. And what I mean by tribe is people that believe what you believe. The aim isn't to do business with everyone who needs your product. The goal is to do business with people who believe in what you believe in, because they are so much more willing to come on board with your cause than anyone who needs your product, because they're just looking for the cheapest, the easiest, the quickest.
And what would happen if your tribal call out is too broad of a group, or too specific, or maybe even too big? How do you know when you've sort of aligned properly with the right people?
Yeah, so when I say tribal call out, it's just basically talking about what you believe in. It's talking about your vision. It can just be one sentence, or it can be like a whole kind of manifesto, a whole video that talks about what you believe in. This is what we do, and they can be really great kind of advertisement material. But it's not really about it being too broad or if it aligns. Really, like the aim here is to get down and have a kind of a personal discovery and articulate the passion that's in you so that people also align with that. People are attracted to authenticity. So it's really hard for kind of, as business owners to grab this concept, but it's not about creating something that people want to hear. It's about creating something that's so authentic to you that people that align with that are attracted to it. So this doesn't overwrite the fact that you do need to do your market research, that you do need to understand your demographic. But it is so much more powerful when you can find the people who need your product, but also believe in what you believe in, because they're so much more likely to you hit gold, basically. So there is no such thing as it being too broad. There is such thing as not communicating your vision and your why clearly. The clearer you can communicate that, the more specific and the more signal people are going to hear throughout the noise to the right people, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And just before we sort of move on to a little bit of graduate advice on your sort of story in marketing, do you have any maybe recommendations for anyone wanting to learn a bit more about finding out who their tribe is, or how to start, or how to change their tone of voice or their connection points, maybe?
Yeah. So I would say everything that you ever say about your business, start off with what you believe in and your why. So such a sentence like this: I believe in a world where your vision. So everything I do is based around your the main action that you take, your why. So there's a lot of work to kind of really do with uncovering and clarifying your vision and your why. But start everything that you say, before you even tell them what you do, with I believe in a world where your vision, so everything I do is based around your why. Okay. And the second way that you can actually start to speak to your tribe is by creating a tribal call out. So this is about, hi guys, my name is Bob, and I'm part of a community of people who give them an identity. In Apple, it's people who think differently. In my business, it's people who roar. I've had clients who have called their audience superheroes. I've had people who call them boss babes. Give them an identity, and I'm part of the people who give them an identity. Explain your mission. We believe in a world where X, Y, Z. Really kind of show them the world that you're trying to create, and then this element is really important. Create an us versus them separation. This is what we believe in, and they might not believe in. Really create that us versus them separation. Why are you different from the rest of the world? Because that's a key element in creating that sense of belonging. If you can follow that structure, you can create a video, you can create a manifesto that you can put on your website, you can create your about section of your website. You could do anything with that structure, but that is a tribal call out structure that you can use to attract people to you. It can be an ad on its own, which for a lot of businesses it is.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, I'm just going to finish off and round off this main section. I think you've provided us with some great insights, and it's come at a really interesting time, because during my last episode I was speaking to Cole Schaefer, who is really one of the best copywriters that I know, and his work is fantastic. And he shared his process on writing and how you can create a persona for the brand and its customer. So he'd be thinking like, what does the customer look like? What music do they listen to? What do they do in their downtime, etc. Whereas when we flip that back to our topic just now and think about the tribal call-outs and the emotional connection and the target market emphasis, it's interesting because you've sort of, if you listen to both episodes, you can have a great idea of who your customers are and how to write to them when you listen to Cole. And then when you flip that around and listen to this episode, you sort of learn about yourself and how to communicate your brand and your message with your customers. So yeah, hopefully that'll give everyone a sort of a great insight on how both elements work. And if you stay tuned with us, we're just going to talk about a little bit of graduate advice just to finish off as normal. So as always, we're just going to finish off on a bit of a light-hearted subject and talk about graduate advice and how you sort of got into marketing. So do you have any interesting stories from the period when you transitioned out of education into a sort of a full-time role? Because I know that you started with a pretty unrelated degree, if I'm right.
Yeah, so I actually studied geology at uni, and I realised once I graduated that it really wasn't what I wanted to kind of go into as a career, even though it was really fun to study. So I actually went off on a year where I planned not to have a plan, just do stuff I enjoyed. And I ended up really realising kind of the type of impact that I wanted to have in the world, which was around helping people increase their impact, the positive impact footprint that they had, like the per person impact that they had. So I started off as a life coach, actually, and the reason why I've ended up kind of working in the area that I have now is because I really think that tech-based business owners have the potential to have a massive positive impact in the world, have a big impact footprint, but just have this barrier when it comes to the language. So I've kind of gone down this route of vision coaching, which can be marketing by some people's definitions, branding by other people's definitions. Yeah, so absolutely not a predictable route.
Yeah, somewhere like in the middle of marketing, branding falls in its own sort of spectrum. And sort of based on your experience and how you fell into your current role of expertise, that's probably quite different to someone like myself who's took a marketing role straight through. So what tips do you have anyone who sort of might be in their early stages of their career, whether it be marketing, branding, or anything else really?
Well, just remember that everyone, regardless if they're your boss or your cleaner, they're all human. So there is no point treating people like a computer. And I think, especially in marketing, it's easy to treat people like a computer or just like a number. But there's just as there is no kind of point putting them on a pedestal or like looking down upon them as well. If you strive to create an emotional connection first, you are going to get so much more result for the effort that you put in. Don't just play the numbers game. Create that emotional human to human connection first, and then back it up with logic.
And then, yeah, I guess I will ask one final question because we got through those two pretty quickly. So how do you think graduates can maybe stand out when they're competing for jobs? It's quite a competitive challenge now to land jobs when you're straight out of uni or an apprenticeship or anything like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would say the most powerful thing that you can have when you graduate, and this isn't just for kind of getting jobs, but it's also for any other decision that you make in your life as well. Know your why. And when I say your why, I kind of mean a specific thing. If you watch a video by Simon Sinek called How Great Leaders Inspire Action, he will explain to you this concept of the why. And your why is basically who you are when you're at your best. And it will really start to give you some clarity around your core values and the way that you want to make a difference in the world, the way that you want to impact the world. And when you can talk about that in your interviews, anyone that you talk about that to, it shows that there's more to you than just kind of what skills do you have. Let's look at you're more than just what you are on your CV. When you can start talking about your core values and the way that you want to impact the world. Employers love that just because it shows much more purpose, but it also makes your life so much more fulfilling as well because you're not just kind of floating from one job to another. It feels so much more purposeful. So I would say watch that video of Simon Sinek and understand your why, what your core values and the way that you want to make an impact in the world is.
Yeah, that's a nice way to leave it. Something that people can go out and listen to, whether they are trying to find a job or whether they just want to check out a new resource. So yeah, thanks for being a great guest. You've provided some insights that no one else has covered so far. Hopefully it makes people think about how they're trying to connect emotionally with their audience. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Not a problem. And I hope everyone enjoys listening. Stay tuned for episode 20, which I'm sure will be out in a couple of weeks at the latest.